Greetings, beautiful people. I'm so excited to introduce today's guest for There Is Always Hope podcast, Miss Diane Kucala. Miss Kucala was born and raised in the Twin Cities of Minnesota. She believes that the keys to true happiness and success lie in a values-driven character, strong relationships, an unwavering work ethic, a commitment to community, and passion for learning. Dreaming big is not just an option for Diane, it's a necessity. These principles, she asserts, are the hallmarks of today's greatest leaders. Ms. Kucala's journey began in customer service at the American Express Financial Corporation in downtown Minneapolis. With gratitude, she acknowledges AEFC for supporting her pursuit of a master's degree in industrial relations at the University of Minnesota's Carlson School of Management. That support enabled Ms. Kucala to advance her education while working full-time. In July 2005, Ms. Kucala founded Blueprint Leadership, BPL, a transformative organization dedicated to equipping leaders at all levels to align cross-functionally and meet customer needs. BPL's core focus is leadership, development, and coaching. Over the past decade, Ms. Kucala and her team have partnered with cutting-edge organizations such as Medtronic, GE, Foundation Medicine, Nuvasive, USD, and Freenom, among others, to align the unique mission, strategy, culture, and strengths of individuals and teams with the organization's mission. A blueprint leadership involves to its next level, and her team are expanding their initiatives to empower the next generation of leaders. They now feature a hybrid online and Zoom interactive platform, providing accessible, bite-sized skill-building opportunities anytime, anywhere. The program is personalized, comprehensive, and designed to tackle the unique challenges of future leadership within the safety of a small group setting. Ms. Kucala firmly believes that next generation leaders will be key to re-engineering leadership and driving technological and systemic breakthroughs that will profoundly impact the world. Her passion for leadership is unwavering. We thank you, Ms. Kucala, for being our guest on There Is Always podcast.
It's a real pleasure, Bridgette.
Ms. Kucala, your time is so valuable, so let's get started with our talk. Is there one single incident or moment from your past that signified or hinted towards the work you do today?
The way that I got started was very interesting. At one point in my career, and it was in 2005, I was working for a large organization, and there was a company that came to purchase our organization. In the purchase of it, the way that the guidelines had been set up, what happened was everybody in the company had some equity in the company, some stock options. Every single employee, it didn't matter what level you were, everyone had some kind of stock option. I wish that all organizations functioned that way.
Yes.
So when that happened, everybody got their, just because a company made an offer, everybody in the company got their shares allocated to them. And so I had then some safety net that I could go and kind of do whatever I wanted to do. And I didn't know what I was going to do, right? But I decided that I would because the opportunity was there, I had a little bit of time, I was just going to go do whatever I felt like the Lord was calling me to do. So I took about it ended up being close to 6 months to just take some time away, have some sabbatical time, because I had been working at that point for probably 20 years. And well, maybe not quite that long. I don't remember, but maybe it was that long. So at that point, I took that 6 months off, and I sort of thought that the Lord was going to direct me into some type of a ministry that would be outside of the marketplace. But instead, what happened was a friend of mine called me up and she said, "Hey, Diane, there's 2 people I know who are looking for a coach. Would you be willing to coach them?" And I said, "Sure. Why not? I'd love to do that." And my background is, similar.
Right.
So I took on the 2 clients, but honestly, I didn't know exactly how to help them. Right? So I called the coach that I had when I was coaching, and I said, "Hey, will you help me to coach these people? Tell me, what you do, what you've learned over the years. How can I best help them?" And she called me back, a few weeks later, and she said, "Diane, I want to be able to help you. But in order to help you, I need you to do something for me." And I said, "What is that?" I'll help you." And she says, "I need you to take this one client that I have that takes up 50% of my time, and that will free me up to help you and to do some other things."
Okay.
So, Bridgette, the way I got started was some person who I knew, through relationship, who believed in me, who was giving me 2 clients.
Wow.
Which ended up being 2 clients plus this half-time client that started my business. And so, everyone talks about having, like, a lot of times people talk about, well, you have to have a right strategy and a good business plan. I'm really an example of someone who the Lord just laid it out for me, and it happened.
Wow, that is an awesome testimony.
It's so amazing.
I've heard it's not always what you know, it's who you know.
Yes.
So definitely in your case, it was who you know. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing. So, Diane, what has been the most challenging part while in the role as founder of Blueprint Leadership?
I think there were 2 things that were difficult. The first one was in starting a new business for me, and I think for most people I talk to, it takes longer. It takes more persistence. It takes faith and believing that eventually it's going to work out. Because even though I, got that half-time client took up half of my time.
Right.
Coming out of a corporate role, I didn't make the same compensation for more than 5 years. I would have been better off financially to stayed in the corporation and pursued that from a financial perspective. Now, from every other perspective, I was better off being where I was, but it took a sacrifice financially to then, it took the time. It took 5 years in order to get to where I would have been. But that 5 years sowing in, Bridgette, like anything, you sow in, you reap later. And that 5 years of sowing in, then I reaped back better than if I had been in a corporation. Right. So I think that's digging the trench, and the persistence and faith, courage, all of that was a challenge. It really was a challenge. And then the second thing that is a challenge with, for me having my own business was maintaining the right boundaries, because it's easy to get pulled in and over committed to the work, because it's yours and you want it to be successful and you really care about the people that you're working with. So it's very easy to lose track of balance in your life and making sure that you're doing all the right things in other areas as well.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And I'm glad you found that right balance because you're still here today.
That's right.
Yes,
You learn as you go, but yeah.
very true. Very true. So, how did it change your perspective on future obstacles, what you went through?
That's a great question. I think one of the things for me is realizing that bite size goals are important to keep in front of me because no matter what I do, I also did some athletic things, and no matter what I do, for example, I did a marathon.
Wow.
In running a marathon, and in my work in putting this a blueprint leadership together. If I think about, it's easier for everybody to relate to a marathon. So if you think about, okay, I'm going to run 26 miles, that seems so overwhelming.
Yes.
But if I can break it down into 3 miles times 8 plus 2 more miles, it makes it more doable. I can do 3 miles. I can, well, not right now, but before it was easy.
I understand.
So I think that is one of the things I learned is breaking things down into bite-sized elements. And then with regard to the boundaries is one of the things that I learned from that is making sure that I have boundaries in place in all areas of my life. Because one of the things I love and have learned about boundaries from a couple of different people is that boundaries are not really to keep they're not being placed on circumstances or other people. Boundaries are what we place on ourselves.
Yes.
Right. So we can allow the good in and not be, absorbed by anything that is not good. So I learned, I think it was a beginning of learning some really strong boundaries that have then permeated into other areas of my life as well.
So, Diane, what does the impact of your work teaches you about yourself?
One of the things that I think my work teaches, well, one thing I love about my work is I'm always learning because people are so insightful, and every person we talk to has something to teach us. There's always something, no matter who the person is, there's something that they have to teach us. And so I feel like every single day I get paid to learn from others. It's really wonderful. I love it. And then, my goal is that I'm also giving back, to that person in ways that are going to help them progress in the way they want to progress.
Okay.
Right? In the way they want to. So my job is really amazing and fun. Because I do have the opportunity and license to speak into people's lives. But my goal is to understand where do they want to go? And if I have the opportunity to talk openly like we do, like where's God leading them? And then based on all of these experiences I've had now over the course of 25 years, it's not just me that I get to speak into someone. It's 25 years worth of people's experiences
Yes.
that I get to speak into to the person who's in front of me. And that is amazing to me.
Yes, it is. Oh my goodness. That is so, just to think about that, the lives that you are impacting to help them find their purpose, their call in life. That is so amazing. Thank you. Thank you. So, how do you encourage the younger generation to grow in their faith?
I love this question also because you're just hitting on something that's new for me. Just a couple of weeks ago, actually, but it's been a few years in the making. I'm just rolling out what we're calling a beta program, and it's called Kingdom Leadership. And so, yeah, so for the very first time, it's a very overt program where we've got people from all denominations in the kingdom that are coming together And we are looking at leadership from a biblical perspective.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And the neat thing about it is where I don't think that there's a lot of this integration happening yet, but I think it'll be more and more in the coming years. But for this next generation to be able to look at practicalities of leadership, because there are practicalities. How do you inspire people? How do you set goals? How do you have difficult conversations when people are not performing well? All of those kind of leadership challenges that people have are real, whether you're in a corporate world, a volunteer world, a church, or whatever else you're in, and they're needed. And then we're looking at it from a kingdom perspective. What does it mean to bring kingdom culture into those environments, especially into entrepreneurial environments or corporate environments where you may not be free to speak as openly as you might want to about Jesus, but you are completely free to talk about kingdom principles in
Yes.
secular language.
Oh, wow. That is wonderful. That is an awesome program. And what's the name again?
We're calling kingdom leadership signature strengths God's design.
So you still on the initial stage?
Yes. In fact, we had our third meeting this morning.
My goodness.
Yes, it was. So it will be going until 2 weeks before Christmas. And again, Bridgette, the really neat thing is we've got people who are probably close to 60 and in their 40s. And we've got a couple of two guys that are in their 20s.
Awesome.
And every single one of them has amazing contributions to make. It doesn't matter what level they are in the organization or what their age is, or, whether they're male or female, we've got both. Everyone in the group is making significant contributions to each other in the conversations that we're having. And that to me is so exciting.
Just seeing it on your face, I'm sure.
Yes.
It's a new season for you and doing something more than what you've done so far. Oh my goodness. I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for you. Yes. And I can see it. It's going to expand. Yes.
Thank you.
Anything that we're doing for the kingdom is going to expand. Yes. Because you're putting God first.
That's so right.
You're putting God first. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Seek first the kingdom.
That's the word. So Diane, what new beginnings or changes do you hope to see with Blueprint leadership?
So one of the things that I'm excited about working with the next generation is I really believe that there are new technologies that God is releasing. That's such the good news.
Yes.
Because we can be more productive in how we go about doing things and expand. And if we can combine that with kingdom leadership, I feel like we have a real opportunity to, shift the nations, not just the US, but the nations to a better place. And so, honestly, there are a lot of people that are praying for the next revival, worldwide revival. So if we can put new technologies, kingdom leadership, and revival, together,
changing the world.
We're all going to change the world together in a positive way. And that's what I loved about this podcast, Bridgette, is there is hope.
Yes.
So many people are getting caught up in what's wrong. Let's think about what's right.
Oh, so true. So true. And that's the whole point of the podcast, is to encourage. A lot of people don't have anyone that they think is in their corner, and they don't truly know that everything depends on our relationship with God. And for you doing it a twofold, you're teaching, You're bringing out their purpose, their gifts, their talents, but you're doing it according to what God says. You can't lose that way.
So true.
You can't lose having God at the center of everything. Oh, I thank you, Diane, for all that you're doing for the kingdom, doing for everyone that you meet. You're impacting. You
Thank
are
you.
impacting. Thank you so much. So if anyone want to know more about you and the Blueprint Leadership, how can they contact you? Please share your information.
I think the simplest way is just Google Blueprint Leadership, and that will give you access to my website and a lot of other things. And then the other thing that I have is if you just because my name is so unique, Diane Kucala.
Yes, it is.
So if you can go onto LinkedIn that way too, and I'm going to be the only one.
That's good. That is very good. You're the only one. You are the original.
I'm no John Smith,
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Laughter is good, isn't it?
It's so good for our soul.
So I thank you again, Diane, for being my guest on There's Always Hope podcast. And I hope you will come again, especially with an update to keep us informed of what more you are doing for the kingdom. So I pray continued blessings and prosperity with the assignment given to you by God.
Thank you so much, Bridgette. Appreciate so much the opportunity to be with you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for what you're doing too.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. You have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. You too. Bye now.
Bye-bye. Beautiful people, I'm challenging everyone who is listening to persevere for hope. And how do you persevere for hope? By meditating, communicating, and demonstrating God's word in your life. As you demonstrate God's word, you find yourself exchanging helplessness for hope. You find yourself exchanging doubt and fear for peace and joy. Our next guest for There's Always Hope podcast is Prophetess Bree Smith. I want to shout out to the best podcast producer on the planet, Jay Wilson. If you need his expertise, his contact is podcastmechanic@gmail.com. Again, podcastmechanic@gmail.com. Beautiful people, if you enjoyed and received an encouraging word from Ms. Kucala, please spread the word and also give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. There is Always Hope Podcast, TikTok, and YouTube at There Is Always Pod. And my website is Bridgette Alfred LLC.com. That's BRIDGETTE ALFRED LLC.com. And there you will find my published inspirational books. If you like prayer, my email address is evangelistalfred@outlook.com. I will definitely respond back to you. Remember that I am your biggest cheerleader, and I pray blessings upon blessings over you until we meet again on There Is Always Hope podcast. Have a blessed and wonderful weekend. Until next time.